Hey guys, today I'm gonna show you how to buffer properly for grinding and all the necessary stuff that you will be able to grind efficiently. I'm gonna make it very simple and to the point. I don't want to waste anyone's time, so let's get to it. The first thing you want, basic of the basic, you want to make sure your pets are active. Usually you want them on agile. Sometimes you want to lower it, depends on the spot. I usually go with the fast because that way they pick up your faster. Make sure you have your pets out. Other than that, you want to make sure you have all your buffs. Now we're going to go over the buffs quickly and which buffs are the most important. And we're going to start with charge buffs. So you want to make sure you're going to the charge, and you can choose which charge buffs you want. Now this is a grinding character, I'm leaving it at the grinding spots. I'm usually taking the long one instead of the short one. If you know you're gonna grind only for 2 hours, you can take the short one. I personally like the long one. It's not as sufficient for silver, but it makes me not go back to town. Now the next thing you want is house buff. Usually you can make a house close to the town you're gonna grind. Mine is just in idle, it's fine. Said they have to come here every like 3 hours or so if I want to put the house buff. The most important one is, the best one is Shadow Lion. As you can see the name, Lionhead, Shadow Lionhead. It's for 3 hours. If you cannot afford that one, you have another one. Is the blue version of it. They're both kind of expensive. They're very worth it though. You should be getting them and buffing them every time you go, especially for endgame spots. If you're grinding like medium to low tier spots, you don't want to use it. It's a waste of silver. So, but anything like above Gaifin and so, you kind of want it. It will increase your trash loot by a lot, so make sure you take it. The next one you want to go for is to make sure you have everything you need. First of all, it's gonna be when you grind, you want the tent buff. Villa buff, sorry. Let's start with the villa buff. You want to make sure you have your gear. You want to make sure your Velout is active. And if you're already at idle, you can take the crit buff. It's only 30 minutes, but it's something you can do if you're already here. It's not something I recommend going back for. Just happen to be here, take it quickly and move on. So again, make sure your spell is gonna be active when you grind, and make sure you have a villa buff. Now there's an easy way to get a villa buff. I purposely didn't get a ticket. Now if you have Old Moon Book, you can just use your tent and get it, but let's say you don't have Old Moon Book. What you want to do, you want to have an alt part in one of the villas. As long as you have a tent, it doesn't matter which villa you go for. That's why tent is very important. So an easy way to do it is, like I said, park an alt in one of the villas. You can talk to the NPC quickly. It doesn't matter which one you take if you have a tent. You can buy any one of those. As you can see about it, I'll just quickly in idle. And instead of running to the villa every week, you just have an altar. That's why alts are kind of efficient. It saves you time, it saves you energy. If you do not mind running to the villa, you can run to the villa, but that depends on you. You gotta buy it every week, it expires in a week. And you pop a tent, and you can buff up. The most efficient one is gonna be the 60 minutes, basically. So when you grind, just pop 60 minutes, grind 60 minutes. I like to pop the 3 hours one, just for it to be, I don't know, I just like it. That way I don't have to like pop my tent every time I grind. But do make sure that you do pop it. It's very important, it's very cheap, it's very worth it. Now that you got all of that going, usually you buff the villa and stuff in the grind spot already. You wanna enter the grind spot. Again, make sure you have the right gear on. Make sure you have the right artifacts on as well. Depends on the spot you grind. If the AP is capped, you wanna go for specific monster damage, for example, Sylvia damage. Or if it doesn't, you can go for all monster damage and crit chance, which is very good for most classes. Some classes do not need it. We're gonna enter a grind spot. If your grind spot is far after you're buffed, you can always use the well. They actually made it so much faster. It's worth using. And while we are heading to the grind spot, I'm gonna talk about perfume quickly. What other buffs you wanna use? So the other buffs you want to use are gonna be frenzy or elixirs, depends on the grind spot. You can do fine with frenzies in all the grind spots, so we're gonna go with the very basic today. I'm not gonna make it complicated, so we're gonna go with frenzies. Make sure you have frenzies. You wanna have the upgraded version for extra 5 monster damage. And you wanna make sure you have simple meal. Again, I'm not gonna go over the complicated stuff. If you cap the area, then you wanna use the other one, but we're not talking about it today. We're gonna maximize our monster damage, so we're gonna go for simple cornmeal. We're gonna use frenzy. As I said before, you can put them on your fairy if you have it, so it pops them automatically. And now we're gonna talk about perfume of courage. Is it worth using? Honestly, there's two answers for it. The short answer is yes. The long answer depends on the spot. Now, do I recommend using it? Most of the time, yes, you should be using it. You will make the money back by those 20 AP. Again, we are not talking about low-end spots. In low-end spots, you do not want to use it. You kind of one-shot the mobs. Any endgame spot, you do want to use it to make sure you kill the mobs faster, and that way you get more trash loot. So, again, short answer, yes. Just start quickly. Another thing you want to make sure before you start grinding, see I use my perfume, the fairy, is to maximize your drop rate. First, don't forget loot scrolls. Happens very often to me, sadly. You grind 20 minutes and then you realize the loot scroll was off. Make sure it's on before you grind. Look at your drop rate. Okay, the max drop rate you can get is 300 on normal servers. If it's not Arsha, you get 300. So because it's nighttime, I get another 10%. So I'm gonna ignore this 10%. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my tent. Take tent buff. You wanna make sure this is maxed out all the time. That is super important. Again, I get 10% because it's nighttime. So instead of taking the 30, I'll take the 40 because I know it will disappear later. And you want to make sure this is maxed out. You also have the channel buff from killing Sangoon or any green boss C7. If it's active, great. You can always check Garmo for a channel if the channel has enough mobs. For example, this spot has a lot of spots, so usually people do not stop. Holy shit, this guy just took time. That's crazy. But you can basically check Garmo to see if there's a spot empty, and kinda everything is taken in this spot quickly. Unlucky. But that's about it. Basically, that's the buffs you wanna have. You wanna make sure they're on all the time during your grind period, and this will increase your trash loot by a lot. This will increase your drops by a lot. I know tent is like 50 mil. Wow. You wanna use it in every spot. That 50 mil will net you so much more silver. It will be actually worth it. Like I said, you want to make sure you buff while you're ready to grind after you find a spot, because you don't want to waste time doing what I did right now. There was another buff I forgot to mention, sadly, so I'll add it in. You want to make sure you use Earth buff as well. If you have the Earth gear, it's actually worth. It's 5 AP if you bought the Earth gear. You get 5 AP for an hour. Make sure you use it before grinding as well. Every AP counts at the end of the day, and that will help a lot. I wish you good luck with drops. I wish you good luck with grinding. And let me know in the comments if it actually helped you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.